Thank you everyone for joining today's film, The Tower, by Mots Grorud, who is with us today. I will just take a few moments while the film is finishing up, a good time to just reflect on this truly powerful film. Mots, if you could turn your camera and sound on, we can start our post-film discussion. I'm Krista Brun. I'm a volunteer with Palestine Museum US. Thank you for joining us today.
Okay.
Such an incredible film. Thank you so much for making it and for being here to allow our guests to ask you questions directly.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I think this film just shows the power of, you know, I understand that your mother worked as a nurse in the camp, and then through that you got to witness very intimately the lives of Palestinians in the camp, and clearly it touched your heart and motivated you and inspired you to make this film. And yes. I think that just shows the power of when people just learn the truth about what Palestinians have been through, what they hope for. You can't ignore you can't ignore their reality, and it becomes part of your reality. So I think your film, and probably your whole life story, is an example of that. And I know there are many others who have experienced the same, myself included. So if you could just share with us, first of all, say hello to our guests and welcome.
Hello everyone. Yeah. I'm very happy that you're screening the film, so thank you first of all for that. It premiered in 2018, so it's been a few years now. And unfortunately the film keeps being relevant.
Yes.
So I lived in the camp of Burj al Barajna in 2001, so it's also some time ago. So I was younger then, and I lived inside the camp for a year. And the film is my attempt to try to capture some of the emotions and some of my I don't know. The film is very much based on a few of my friends and what they told me, and kind of our conversations and their jokes. Really, a lot is about life in the camp and trying to make do with what you have, and which is so a lot of conversations around coffee and cigarettes and and enjoying life the best you can in the camp. Yeah.
Well, you did such an incredible job just depicting not only the history of the Nakba and how the memory is passed on from generation to generation, but also the challenges of life in the camp, and like you said, how people find hope and in spite of everything. And it's really the detail and the emotion and the relationships and the memories, it's all woven through so beautifully. So I just commend you for that. I'm sure I'm not the first person to tell you that.
It's I found living in the camp, because I only lived in the camp for 1 year, and I'm not Palestinian, and I grew up in Norway when my mom worked as a nurse in Lebanon, but we were always in Norway. I lived 1 year in Egypt when my mom worked at Mustashfa Palestine, the Palestinian hospital in Cairo, in '89 as well. But I mean, so I'm kind of remote, and at the same time, I got this opportunity to stay for 1 year in the camp, and when before you come to the camp and you kind of think of it as this very sad place and very destitute, and kind of, you know, people have been living there for such a long time, and you always hear kind of the tragic stories. But once you live in the camp, it's I don't know, maybe it was also the age. Like I was in my mid-20s, and even though, like, you know, a lot of my friends didn't have work, you know, there was a lot of things going on that were not nice. It was always this, you know, any joy you would find, anything that would bring some joy to my friends' lives, that you would grasp it. And so I tried to capture this duality, where the camp was on one side something that everyone hated, but on the other side it was home. It was where people had their families and their loved ones, and so it was this dual. I found that when a lot of journalists, for example, from Norway came to the camps, they would write about, the oppression of women, the kind of everything being very, very, very bad in a sense, and kind of always with the focus on the Kalashnikovs and the scarves. And so I wanted to show something else from the camp, which was just
life.
life and my friends, and their families.
Well, you said this film is unfortunately still hugely relevant, and I think that's part of the power and beauty of it. Yes, unfortunately, it is relevant, but through your film, many people can learn the story of Palestine, the story of the Nakba, the story of the camps, the story of what it's like to long for home, the story of what it's like to get handed your CD's key and be trusted with his memory to carry that on, and the hope of return. So you capture that so beautifully, and I just want to really just emphasize that. Part of what film can do is touch the heart in ways that maybe the headlines don't. And so this is really, I think what your film does so well is it just speaks directly to the heart of the situation, the humanity of it, and what people dream and hope for. So
Krista,
yes,
because we had technical problems before, we got about like 20 some minutes.
I know, it's unfortunate.
We have another event that kicks in at 2:00, so we need 5 minutes before that to
Sure. Well, we'll have to just be focused. Yes.
Mots, it's great to see you again, and
thank you, Faisal.
It's been a while. I think we saw you last in December. So now we need to see you every 6 months and run this film.
I'm very grateful that you're doing it, Faisal. Yeah.
Thank you. And then Krista, let's see if we have any audience questions. And
yeah, so far, let's see. I don't see. Wait, no, we do. Just a minute. I was on the wrong screen. Let's see. One of our guests is asking what kind of coverage the film received, where you've shown it and what kind of reaction you've gotten to the film.
Yeah. So the film has been screened at around, I think, 250 festivals around the world. Everything from human rights festivals to animation film festivals to Arab film festivals, Palestinian film festivals, and children film festivals. So it's kind of a wide range where it's been shown. It has also had like regular cinema distribution in the Nordic countries, in France, Canada. It went to cinemas in Jordan, so different countries, and it had. We entered it into the Oscars for 2019, but for the long list. I wanted to see just how it was greeted and how it would go, if anything, in the US. It's 99% is very warm from mainstream media and everything. It's gotten a lot of positive response. Mostly that it sees kind of the humanity in the situation, and it's also that it's from the perspective of the Palestinians. I didn't want to demonize the Israelis in this film. I wanted this film to be about the Palestinians, because I was afraid that I didn't want the discussion afterwards to be hijacked by pro-Israeli groups that kind of attacked the film for portraying the Israelis so and so. I wanted this film really to be about the Palestinian lives and how I was told their stories. So it's been shown in a lot of like school programs for kids. Now last in France, I'm not sure the number of people that have seen it, but it's been screened in schools with like discussion programs in France, Denmark, Norway. So this I'm very, 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 very happy about. to bring the film to a younger audience as well, and to a new audience that don't know much about the Palestinians, or about the Nakba, or what's happened to the Palestinians. So that was also a part of my reason for making the film in animation, was to bring the film to a new audience, and not just people that already knew about Palestine, that would normally see documentaries about Palestine. Yeah.
And you just brought that intergenerational perspective through so beautifully between Wardi and Sidi, and all the other characters, and kind of where they were in their lives, and what their hopes and dreams were, what their challenges were. It just gives a very multi-dimensional perspective on the Palestinian situation, just beautifully. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the dialogue, how you pulled that together. I'm sure just working together with your friends, and just finding it's like we're right there in the camp.
The language I would speak with my friends in the camp was a mix of Arabic and English, and maybe a broken English. And I found that a lot of this, what my friends would tell me, was very, very beautiful and poetic. And so a lot of the things in the film, actually most of what you find in the film is not me, but it's my friends telling me these things, and I just copy paste and
well,
and stole
incredible.
as much as I could.
So are you still in touch with some of our viewers are asking, are you still in touch with these families, and have you been back to the camp at all?
Yes, I have been back to, now it's some years ago. And many of my friends actually moved out and are maybe in Sweden, some are in Norway. So some left Lebanon, but some are still back in the camp. We did go back and screen the film. We had a tour in 5 or 6 of the camps in Lebanon, and also in the West Bank. We did tour 5 or 6 camps. So that was fantastic, very different experience. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, just portraying their lives and letting them see what you did with that must have been an incredible experience.
Yes,
and of course there are refugee camps in the West Bank as well, so people can totally relate to this story. Some people are wondering where they can see the film again.
It should be online if you search on Apple TV or on the different streaming places.
Yeah. Okay.
It should be available on different platforms. If you don't find it, Faisal and you guys have my email, so people can send me.
Yes, of course.
A request.
We'll be in touch. And the photographs is another question about the photographs. They are actually of the families that you knew, I'm assuming.
Half of them are from the families I knew that I got to know in the camp. So they are from my friends' personal albums. The other half, because I was like 12, 13, 14 when my mom worked in the camps. So the pictures from the 80s, so half of them are from my mom's albums. So I actually had to go back and retrace and find out who a lot of these people were.
Wow.
That was a big job because I needed their permission to use the pictures. And sometimes my mom didn't know. She would take these pictures in the middle of the 80s, and she was not sure which camp or where it was. So it was also quite a lot of work to find.
Sure.
Like the people that knew somebody who knew
Right. So you just kind of go from person to person, and I'm sure along the way you just collected more and more stories, which just added to the depth of the film.
Yeah. So so it's also like I really wanted people to understand while watching the film that this is real stories and real people, and not a lot of time this kind of stuff comes at the end of the film, but I wanted it to be in the middle of the film to really give people this punch, and to really feel that what you're watching is people's actual lives.
When you were in the camp, how old were you? Were you in school or were you in college? Some people are just wondering how your education unfolded while you were there.
I'm born in 1976 and I stayed there in 2001. So I was 86, 90. I was like 25, 26. So there's a Norwegian solidarity group called the Palestine Committee. and they send like young people who go and work. Not you kind of go and you stay. I worked as an English teacher in Rauda with Jamait al-Marra al-Khayriyya.
Nice. So in kindergarten, for those who don't know Rauda.
Yeah. So I worked as just in the Rauda, and I played football. So it was more like an experience to get to know people and to come back to Norway and have to bring people's stories to the Norwegian people.
Yeah. Incredible.
So that's one of the solidarity programs in Norway. So it's I actually have, so this is, I'm it's a generational. So these are the old.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, so when you have generational stories in the camp, I mean, you also have now, unfortunately, generational stories of solidarity in like Norway as well, where you grow up.
Yeah. It's been a long time.
Yes.
This is the 75th year, of course, a big year, but every year is a big year because things are not changing. Like you said, the film is too relevant. We wish it were to learn about the history, not about the present, not about, but it's both. And, the way you depicted, having to leave their village and then, settling in Lebanon in the camp, the tents go up and then the cinder block homes and then of course that turn into towers. The title of the film is so telling of not only refugee camps but even villages in Palestine who aren't, the ones in the West Bank that aren't allowed to build out, so they have to build up, and the camps are just an extreme version of that. So you just depict that so well, and also the hope of symbolically of somehow rising above, and but also being in the midst of that reality. So
thank you.
Yeah. And then of course you got some historical footage there. Can you talk about how you got a hold of that? And
so when I was living in the camp, I'm not a journalist, and I stayed there as a friend. So it was hard for me, and I didn't want to kind of dig into people's. I didn't want to be kind of this this guy who. It was difficult to talk about war. It was difficult to talk about what had happened. Like I didn't want to ask too many questions that were difficult, like what people had gone through, because people. Yeah, so I'm like. So it took a long time actually living in the camp before, for example, suddenly I understood that my friend Abu Hassan, he had an older brother called Hassan. My friend's called Muhammad. And it took a long time before these kind of stories came about what had happened during the wars. So actually, for the flashbacks in the film, I went more to historical sources. I read with Dina Matar what it means to be Palestinian, for example. And there was the Nakba archives with Mahmoud Zaidan and Diana Allen. That's like video recordings, testimonies of people that left Palestine in 1948. It's with the university in Beirut.
Sure.
So I went more to these kind of sources to find sources for the flashbacks, and I did read other biographies like Cy Clemens of Jalili by Elias Srouji. Yeah. So I read all these different books about testimonials and Fawaz Turki, about life in the different kind of decades of the camp. Yeah.
Sure.
So it's a mix of my own interviews and conversations in the camp and what I read in these other, like in more the past. Yeah. Sorry for my English. Yeah.
No,
it's a mix.
incredible.
Yeah.
So what are you working on now? And are you still involved with with Palestine in some way or other, in solidarity or in other ways, and through your artwork, your craft?
Yeah, I'm working on a new project that has to do with oil and ecology. So
Okay.
so it's not directly related to Palestine.
Sure.
It's more an ecological project on where we're heading.
And oil as in what oil are we talking about?
I'm talking of oil as in well, it's a story based in Niger Delta. So I'm working on a project with the pollution of the environment. Yeah.
That's
but
also
I'm,
a very timely topic, of course.
yes, but I'm I'm a member of the Palestine Committee, and I'm a lifelong friend of Palestine. So that's
Well, it's really incredible to see this film and to hear you talk about it. Let's see if we have more questions here. Someone would like you to explain the familial line in your film, just CD and just the relationships that are portrayed. Maybe they're just trying to kind of get the lay of the land straight with the family ties and who everybody was, but
what do you mean, like how it's...
Well, of course, I mean, you start in the film with they just say, can you explain the familial line in your film? CD has a boy and a girl, question mark. Obviously when we go back to the Nakba, we see CD as a boy who then we go through his whole life to his death. So there's a lot of relationships there.
Yeah, so Sid is a great grandfather. Wardi, and then so the grandparents are Lutfi and Rosette.
Okay.
Lutfi and Rosette, so they actually exist. Or Lutfi is now in Lebanon, so he's the father of my friend, and Rosette was his wife. She passed away a few years ago, but she was able to see the film.
Oh, wonderful!
Yeah, and so they are in the real life. They're the parents of Abu Hassan, who's my good friend from Bayrakshi family from north of Palestine, from Kabri and Quiquet, I think. So the different characters in the film are based on different people I knew, and in the film they're assembled as one family. But like, for example, the aunt in the film, Hanan, so she's based on the sister of my friend Bassam Adawi. So everyone is kind of the close people I had around me.
Sure, and then you compiled them into a family.
Yes. And sometimes they're also like a mix. So I took something from one friend of mine and another thing from another friend, and I mixed into a new character. So yeah,
that's your artistic freedom.
Yeah, four generations in the film.
Yeah, that's incredible.
With Celia at the top, Lutfi and Rosette, and then it's the mom and the aunt, and then you see the dad for a little bit, and then you have the uncle, the pigeon boy. Yeah. That's
And the symbolism there with the pigeon boy clipping the wings and saying, what is so concerned? Oh no, and he says no, they'll grow back even stronger. And that symbolism of like when they're carrying the cage of the prisoners and the the dove flies by and just showing the freedom of movement and the contrast, right? With those borders. So
and they're homing pigeons and not, well, you got to say peace pigeons, but homing pigeons are the
no, it's a common practice there. So where are you speaking to us from today? Are you in Norway?
I'm in the mountains. It's
in the mountains.
I don't know. It's
oh, so you're still full of snow.
We're still full of snow here.
We were here in Wisconsin just a couple of weeks ago, but now the grass is turning green suddenly. So spring just came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Now up in the mountains, there's still snow. So I'm here with my family. Yeah.
So one of the major themes in your film is hope. Tell me, where do you find hope today, given where we are in the current situation, where things are headed? It's been a difficult decades, but the last years have been even more difficult. And of course, the last months, just crazy difficult. So I just wondered if you could just speak to how do you find hope in the midst of
I don't
the
know.
chaos
It's
that we're experiencing.
yeah, it's difficult to find hope from the headlines, but I think like when you stay in the camp and you stay with Palestinians, somehow, and it's not to paint a picture that Palestinians are more, I don't know, like this cartoony idea that people have, supernatural powers. People are people, and I guess the camp people are depressed, and people are suffering, and people are tired, and so people are everything. But I did find this incredible strength within the families to I don't know, to keep the kids going to school, to that little joy you have with your pigeons in the afternoon, the joy you have over coffee in the morning, like all these little things that make life I don't know, manageable.
Sure.
And I don't know. I think people in the camp would tell me, they also have time. It's people know what's right, and they, yeah. So it's I don't know. It's these little hopes that kind of is connected to life itself, that we just have to, yeah, do our best to work for what's good, and one day.
Yeah, and believe in the justice of the cause. And
yeah. So it's I don't know. You find hope in every little child that grows up, and like the new generations, that someday
oh, sure.
this has to end. And yeah.
Was working with in the Rauda, in the kindergarten, in the camp, did that give you inspiration for the character Wardi?
Yes, it did. She's the only character in the film that's not really based on. She's based on a myriad of young girls and kids, in fact. So yeah, it's I don't know. When you go to the camps, it's so full of life. So I mean, if you ask, like and every camp I've been to, like if you ask, where do you find hope? It's you find it in these little kids that yeah that grow
They're
up.
so
And
smart. I mean, they know their situation so well. I mean, they could give the best history lesson, right? Over and above the professors at the universities, I think.
Yeah.
So
it's one day. Yeah.
Well, we so appreciate you coming on, and we will show this film again and again. It's really just an incredible view of the Palestinian situation, and through the eyes of all these characters that you so beautifully create.
Yeah.
So I just wanted.
Yeah.
You
screen it now in Arabic or in English?
No, it was in English. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I just
want. So you also you have an Arabic version then?
It's available in Arabic, English, French, and Norwegian.
Okay.
For all of you who understand Norwegian.
Yeah, one of our guests asked if it was screened in Italy at all. Are you aware of?
Yes, it's been shown a couple of places, but in festivals. So not in television or not in.
Yeah.
But it's been shown in a couple of festivals. Yeah. I don't remember the names now, but if she writes me a direct message, I can find out. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Mm.
Well, as you know, we have an afternoon program at the Palestine Museum US today. Some solidarity work that will be full of a whole roundtable discussion.
Yeah.
So we will have to close this session and move on to that. I thought Faisal will come back. He's actually the one to carry us forward. Just to let you know, in a matter of minutes, we'll probably have to close down. Karen Shanahan, you have your hand up, I think. Did you want to come on and say anything, or is that by accident? I'm just asking. I'm not sure if you want to put a message in the chat. Otherwise, I think we'll be closing for the day. And again, thank you, Mots, for your work, for your courage, and just for your human spirit of connecting to this issue so beautifully and sharing it with the world through your art. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Krista, I'm back here, and thank you, Mots, for joining us today, and appreciate your time and look forward for your next visit. Thanks to our audience who joined us on Zoom today. I apologize for some of the technical problems you had getting on. Hopefully won't happen again. And we thank people who joined us on Facebook as well. And we will see you next time, as we have another event here that you're welcome to join it. You can go to our website under events and look at it, and you can register and join from there. PalestineMuseum.us is our website. Thank you, everyone. As we say at the end, ma'as salam.
Massalam.
Ma salam.